the most important thing is to supply what people want, right? And that's the trick, is finding the sweet spot of where you can supply something that people want while still trying to make a profit, okay? Which is the magic. Extremely difficult to make profit, right? Because you think of all the factors that go into either operating a business or marketing something or creating a product or providing a service, employees, if you have a retail space, a building, insurance, if you're manufacturing, all the different sort of building materials that go into the product, your distribution, transporting the product, putting it on the shelves, right? We have to pay salespeople to sort of help promote certain things, that's your business. A lot goes into it, and at the same time, like, well, I have to charge this price. If I raise the price, people are going to stop buying it or increase the demand for it. If I lower the price, we're not gonna make a profit and we'll be out of it, we'll be out of stock. That'll be an issue as well too. Right? So it's extremely challenging to be a successful company or to have a successful product in terms of what you're gonna charge for it versus what you're gonna get back from it. But getting to the grassroots of it, the 4 Ps. Who's unfamiliar with the 4 Ps? Never heard of the 4 Ps. Everyone's heard of the 4 Ps. Or is it we talk about it last time? Yeah. Okay. So product, price, place, promotion, right? We say the product is important because it's what you offer. Service can also be a product as well too, right? You're buying an experience at a restaurant. The price is what you charge, the place is where it's being offered, whether it's online or there's a store, and the promotion is communication that creates awareness to interpret purchase, right? Promotion is incentivizing, right? Kind of giving something out there to make people happy, to buy something. Did I ask you this one? Yes, please. How has place changed in the last decade? What are some things you think that's changed in how we go about consuming the product? Besides, obviously, what's up there, Amazon. Yes?
I was gonna say, a lot of things are online now, that's in person.
Such as what? Like even when you think of maybe music, how is music consumed differently?
Maybe like headphones rather than actually going to concerts or like seeing in person.
Okay. So going to concerts, okay.
I feel like there's a lot more, instead of like geographical places, you can find like people who like certain types of music sort of have their own spaces and places, but it's like not physical, it's more like I don't know.
Okay. A space that a similar, people who have similar interests in certain type of music kind of meet up in?
Yeah.
Okay. What else? Yes.
I would say like with streaming services, like movies, like instead of going to the theater, you can sit on your own couch or in your dorm room and you can watch whatever the newest thing is that's on.
Yeah, it used to be that when the movie first came out, it was at the theater, that was it. You gotta wait for it to watch it on TV. And now it's released in the theater, but it's also released on HBO Max, right? Amazon Prime Plus or something. Right, so it's like, we give you an option to not go to the theater, you can still watch the brand new movies at the theater at home, the stream.
Like groceries, you got like grocery delivery pickup, apps. You got like DoorDash, sometimes you can DoorDash like groceries to your whatever.
Yeah, I mean, before you can have the option to shop from multiple grocery stores at once, use like Instagram, right? You can shop at different stores, because not all stores carry everything that you like, right? So obviously there's another demand there, a need. What about Amazon Fresh? Anyone ever shop from like Amazon Fresh before? Didn't like a little retail? No? Okay. Right, you go in, it picks up, you I think you scan your Amazon account and that's it. You walk in, you scan your Amazon account, you take stuff off the shelf, you walk out. right? They got all these tracking devices and cameras and monitors back. Oh, you know, you picked up this, you bought this, and you just leave it, right? Like, that's crazy. Like, how do they stop that? It's like, how do they stop that? But, you know, it's really helped, and it probably is the future of grocery shopping, because people don't wanna do all that extra stuff, right? You think about before, you would stop at the counter, scan stuff, wait in line, then they try to do the self-checkout and all this, but they're like eliminating self-checkout. You scan your account, you came in, we saw what you purchased, that's it. Oh, yes.
Also, like purchase methods, but usually, I think the other problem is, you know, a card, that's a physical money, now you can pay from your phone, like,
Yeah, I rarely ever pull out my wallet. I use Apple Pay literally rarely. Now, there's some, you know, restaurants that, you know, don't really use it or something like that. Yeah, we've eliminated big bulky wallets, so that a bunch of cards, we can just add all the cards into our phone, right? So things have changed, right? The marketing environment, right? Some things we have to consider. Things on the inside and things on the outside. Internal and external things. Such as we call a 5-year framework. We'll look at that on the next slide, what that means. Organizational culture. Okay. How's the organization set up? Is it vertical, meaning that there's a CEO on top, a VP of marketing, all these different people, and then just a bunch of employees? Or is it set up in like departments? Okay, we have different departments and different department heads and managers, kind of horizontal. Like there's a lot of responsibilities spread out across, right? Not so centralized. That can affect how you market. That really just affects how you communicate within an organization, right? Which ultimately leads to how seamless things will run. And then macro environment, we'll look at things like the government, and how that impacts marketing. And then micro, more immediate environment around. So we say it's internal environment, which is controllable, right? Things you can't control, things you can control, things you cannot control, right? We say 5M is the mind, it's the staffing. Human capital, right? You have human capital in this classroom. Free labor. You could start a multi-million-dollar corporation and be successful in 1 year. You got a bunch of people who work for free, you got some accounting people, future lawyers, economists, marketing, people who are ambitious, driven, young, energetic, right? Have great minds, so we can come up. That's a luxury, not all companies have that, right? So it's important to have good staffing, good minds, people who have good ways of solving problems, right? People don't necessarily need to be told what to do all the time. People who just have great ideas. And then the time, right? Like, hey, I have a great idea, I want to bring something to market, but if you don't make it in a timely manner, you kind of miss the trend. You don't become a leader, right? You kind of lag behind because of the time portion of it, right? Or how long it's going to take you to develop something. The other part, if we're a production company, we say machinery, equipment, 3D printing, right? That's kind of efficient, quick. Highly automated systems versus somebody chopping up everything. Hand sewn, handmade versus utilizing machines to make all types of garments, right? It matters because it means how quickly you can create something, right? Because time is of the essence. Do you have the proper machinery, equipment for it, or are you kind of antiquated, you know, in your methods? Materials, right? Some things are good quality, some things are poor quality. Some people complain about Tesla. Like, hey, great electronics, poor build quality maybe, good design, sure, right? And so you say, what are the most important things? You need a warranty Tesla, right? Well, you want to eliminate stopping for gas. I like the technology, it has an app, get in with your phone or a little card. Yeah, it's not the greatest quality in the deal, but the technology is really good and the network is really good. Right, so we say, hey, sometimes we compromise on materials, and other times we have great materials, which means we gotta charge more. And then money and finances. Right, you need a lot of money to operate business, and you need to manage it very well. Right, because at the end of the day, if you're spending too much, there just won't be any margin of profit to do anything, right, to continue your business or to grow. Then we have the organizational culture, right, part of our internal environment. We can control that. A strong culture retains employees. Strong culture says like, hey, here's our rule book. This is what we're about. I'm going to train you on our methodology. Here's our corporate philosophy, right? And all the salespeople can run like, yeah, this is what we're about, right? Every time they talk and promote it, they're speaking about the culture of this organization. They're not speaking broad, right? They're being very specific about what this company is about. That's controllable. And that's important because you get everyone on the same page. You create a mindset of employees, right? Everyone is enthusiastic and motivated and understand their role, right? Everybody knows their role. And then it gives the customer an idea of the values of the company, which can drive them to support the company. You know, if you go into some places and it seems like the people don't care to work there. They're rude, right? They care less. They don't seem really driven. They take their sweet time and prepare your food. Let's say fast food places, right? Like maybe it's expected, I guess, right? People are like, well, maybe I'll act better if I was paid. I hate this job. I don't care. Right? Well, if it's not fast food, if it's a restaurant and you have the mentality, you probably be at a business quickly, unless the food's really good. If it's mediocre food. If it's really good, you still can do it through sort of behavior. An example being, there's a place not too far from my house called Wiener Circle. It's in Lincoln Park. Anyone familiar with it? Right, so Wiener Circle is like just one location. They have charbroiled hamburgers, and char dogs, cheese fries, really good, like really, really good burgers, fries, and char dogs. But what they know on the floor is being rude. Like you come in and they curse you out, right? But the people love it. You get a lot of tourists. You get a lot of drunk people who literally come in there like, it's a joke, right? Very rude. Like they'll curse you out like it's ridiculous, right? But you know, unless you're that exception, if you have rude service, you're gonna be offended, right? You're like, I'm spending my money here, you're probably not going to return. Like I said, unless the food's good. Right? Even for myself, good food, I'm willing to risk a lot of things. I go to like the hoods in Chicago and get the best fried chicken, burger joints. I'm like, yeah, I might get a couple bullets waiting in line. But the food's good enough. It's Chicago, right? We expect it, right? We're willing to sacrifice, right? To a degree. And then external environment, things we can control, right? Kind of like real life. Everybody has a lot of anxiety. Like, what are you anxious about? Like, what's this and that? Like, can you control it? You're like, no. You're like, well, I have anxiety about things you can't control, right? Focus on what you can control. But things we can't control consumers. They have different needs at different moments at different times. Trends change, right? We live in a hoodie generation now, right? Cool hoodies. Hoodies are just, it's a thing. You gotta make cool hoodies, you might can sell quite a bit of them. Before, maybe 10, 15 years ago, you're like, no, hoodies weren't that popular like that. You know, the fashion has changed. We're very sort of casual society. So even when you go to work, people still might be in hoodies. Before, 10, 15 years ago, a lot of people living like this every day at work, right? Things change, you gotta change with the environment. Competition change. Content creators, right? It's like, oh, what do you wanna be? I wanna be a content creator. I wanna make millions with millions of viewers on YouTube. I wanna be YouTuber. I wanna be TikTok, right? Like, man, you know how hard that is to go viral? Not only to go viral once, but to sustain your podcast and stuff, right? Guess what? Because everybody got it, right? There's a microphone, a camera, boom, there. Right, so you say, hey, there's a high degree of competition there. Right? So a lot more challenges there too, uncontrollable, which means you have to do something special. And then the microenvironment, right? Political things. You want to work in a waste removal business, but then Chicago just changed some regulation or law. And now you have to do 3 times as much work to dump the waste somewhere. Right? What the federal government uses the EPA to restrict some sort of dumping parameters. And like, well, there goes that business. Just that quick from legislation, right? From a law thing, greater change. So there's political things and legal things too. Things you can't do, false advertising, you could be sued for that, right? So things you have to kind of very much pay attention to. Environmental things. Wildfires right now out there in Los Angeles, right? Businesses are impacted. If you live in Florida, South Florida, or in the Gulf, high hurricane zones, right? Actual environmental things that could stop you from making money. Social things, right? What are some social things that can impact marketing or business? What do you think? Think one of your employees or one of your managers went on Twitter and made a tweet. Said something highly offensive about a group of people that happens to be a large base of your consumers. Right? And now they're gonna boycott you, cancel you, don't shop there. They're using the social platforms to force, using social forces to make sure you don't make any money, to make sure you suffer. They're gonna hit you in the wall, right? So you gotta be very sort of sensitive to that too. Or you say, hey, social things you capitalize on. Like, oh, it's Juneteenth, right? Holiday, people that, oh, we should advertise it. Put that on the clothes, t-shirt. Put on the tagline. Earth Day, whatever day it is, Christmas, it doesn't matter, right? It could be for pride. Like, we have to capitalize on this movement, on what people value, on this holiday. And then you ask people, like, the owners, like, man, you really believe in that, or you really value that? No, of course not. It's about the money, right? It's about the money, for the most part. Sometimes people are really invested in the values there too, right? But as a marketer, that's none of our concern. Our concern is to have the greatest sort of demand for our products and services. And then the technological aspect, right? The technology moves quick. Now we have AI, right? So if you're not using AI, and someone can quickly compute an entire commercial in like 10 minutes, while somebody's like, hey, go set up, we're gonna film out in the desert near Las Vegas. Get a camera guy, get the transportation, get this, we need permits. Someone's like, dude, we created a commercial in 10 minutes with software, right? So if you don't catch up with the technology, you're wasting money, you're going to suffer, right? So you have to keep up with these things on the technological side. Part of the components of the microenvironment, right? We have suppliers, competitors, general public, customers, and market intermediaries. Let's start at the top. suppliers. Right? You say, we have a great product that we want to create. Unfortunately, the supplier that we want to use has our competitor that it already makes for it. So that's a no-go. They're refusing to make a product because they have a non-competitive agreement with another major competitor. Right? We have to use another supplier. Like, well, what's gonna happen with this other supplier? Well, they take a little longer. Take a little longer, it means the customers take a little longer. And the customers have to wait. That hurts ourselves, right? And our competitors win. So it gets tricky. If you can find the right suppliers, you could be highly successful. Right suppliers are those who supply at the right cost, those who are quick, those who maybe give you discounts and you form a good relationship. Suppliers are about relationships, long-term relationships. Because you have those relationships, they'll prevent other people from doing business with them. Competitors, of course, right? There's a lot of competition. You drive down Harlem Avenue going south, and you see that there's 2 gas stations, one across the street. What do you notice about those gas stations? Something interesting there.
Gas price might be like, if it's like 1 or 2 cents.
1 or 2 cents. Right? Like, dude, is 1 or 2 cents gonna compel somebody to go there? Yeah, it's just that simple. 1 cent will make you turn left, 1 cent will make you turn right. Right? So you gotta know your competitors, what they're doing, kind of match what they're doing. You have to pay attention. You really are matching what your competitors do. You know, sometimes there's like corporate espionage, right? Like McDonald's might hire like a spy to figure out what Burger King's coming out with in the next 3 months. Right? And maybe they would come out with it before. Remember, whoever's usually first to market, first mover, is the most successful. Right? Usually, whoever comes first usually has the greatest capitalization, regardless, right? Apple wasn't the first one to make a cell phone, but it was the first one to really create what we call now a smartphone. Right? Thus, it was first to market. Tesla wasn't the first sort of electric car. I mean, they made electric cars in the early 1900s. But Tesla was the first electric car manufacturer to figure out how to mass produce this electric vehicle, give it to people, and have a grid system to charge it. Which means they're first. Like, what about Mercedes-Benz? And they've been making cars forever. How come they can't match Tesla? They're making awesome cars forever. How difficult would it be to just make an awesome electric vehicle and catch up? They make them now, but they're still playing catch up to Tesla. Right? Whoever comes first usually is the leader, the first mover, right? So you always want to beat your competitors to the market, right? Find some savvy ways or offer some sort of promotion to show why you're better than your competitor in different ways, right? We see Coca-Cola ads, sometimes they attack Pepsi, sometimes they get sued for it. Like, hey, what can we actually lose in the lawsuit versus how we can actually stop people from buying new Pepsi or something? They'll actually make those decisions, those strategies. And then the general public. Then we said stakeholders, people who have an interest in the business, interest in the product. Meaning that even if the product is nearby in the neighborhood, they're a stakeholder. They may never shop there ever. They may never even buy it. But they're still influenced and affected by taxes, right? Transportation, right? Traffic. They're impacted by something. And then we have our customers and we have our market intermediaries, like people who are brokers. Think about for smartphones. How many people in here, so raise your hand again for iPhone. How many people bought their iPhone from the Apple store or from Apple.com? Right? So you're like, I didn't buy it. Apple makes the phone and they sell it. They got a store, they sell the phone. They got a website, they sell it there. How many people because that was like, hey, we got a wonderful phone, but nobody is buying the $1,600 phone right off the bat. So I was like, okay, we still wanna get to as many people as possible, maybe we could finance, do the finance, pay $35 a month, credit approval, yada, yada, yada. They're like, well, that's probably even still a struggle. What's the easiest way? Well, you need cell phone service, so people have service providers. Let's just let T-Mobile, AT&T, Verizon, whoever, sell the phone, right? And you give a plan where you pay $30 a month. And you put a little down payment down, $30 a month, and then you get your cool phone. Right? So there's a lot of market intermediaries. So really, you could say the biggest customer for Apple is not you, not direct consumers. It's companies, right? They're selling it to Verizon, T-Mobile, AT&T at a discount. And then Verizon, T-Mobile, AT&T sell it back to you in some way. And then charge a little charge, right? And then I upcharge you, make sure you pay the full price of the phone over time. Make sure you get it, but they still went out financially. And they still got your business with cell phone service as well too. The other thing would be corporations too. Marketing intermediaries. You're like, well, the university needs computers. So it's not individual customers who are our main base for the academic, right? Or the iMac or whatever the case it is, or even if it's Windows, right? So Microsoft is like, yeah, let's sell to the universities. Right? Schools may be the biggest customers for those companies, not you, right? Not you on the retail side, it's individuals. So like there's market intermediaries, which is great tactics. You're like, hey, I could care less about selling to people, but I do know corporations need this to operate the business. So I can focus on selling to organizations. Here we listed some new, some political factors, right? We say new taxes. Taxes increase, how do you transfer that to the cost of the product? Are you gonna raise the cost? What's gonna happen with the demand for the product? Fiscal policies change, right? Trade tariffs, some economic factors, inflation rates, interest rates, right? If you have a building that you're gonna buy to house the retail space, you're taking on a mortgage, that mortgage has interest rates that may change over time, right? How do you bear that cost? Foreign exchange rates, right? When I started, I started off doing American stuff, like American investment. I'm like, okay, great, man, but what could $2 million get you in Chicago versus what could $2 million buy you in St. Louis? What could $2 billion buy you in South Africa? And so like foreign exchange rates, powerful, right? Powerful. If your economy's doing good and you're making a ton of money, you take that money elsewhere. That's a great place that's relatively cheap. And then economic growth patterns, right? We always see changes in the economy as presidents kind of swing, right? And it's usually just because of behavior, people's perceptions and confidence on how the economy's gonna kind of move forward. Social factors, demographics change, right? We say, hey, the U.S. is great because we're a microcosm of the planet, all types of people. I don't know. You think that's easier to sell to than a homogenous society where everybody lives like, everybody speaks the same language, right? Everybody's the same religion. What do you think? Which one is relatively more easier? What do you think is easier to market to? A society like the United States where it's, hey, we all look alike, we do different things, right? Different tastes and preferences. Or a homogenous society, like, they all look the same. They all speak mostly the same language, same traditions, values, etc. it's a little bit more predictable, right? What are we gonna say over here? Same thing? Who thinks that you can maybe do better with a more diverse society? Maybe make more money?
It depends, like, if you can get into different demographics and stuff, then like, in the long run, it will be more successful because you can reach more people and relate to more people.
Yeah.
I feel like in a long society, kind of like a gap.
Yeah, you're like, hey, there's a modern society, even though it's more predictable, it's probably more capped, there's a limitation, right? The more diverse, integrated society, there's so many different types of people with different incomes and different beliefs. Kind of like there's an unlimited amount of ideas you can come up with, services, right? All different types of categories. Think, for example, once again, back to Apple. Right? iPhone 16 Pro Max, iPhone 16 Pro, iPhone 16, iPhone 16, whatever. Right? 5, 6 categories of the same iPhone for different types of really incomes and preferences. People who want the big screen, right? They prefer to kind of use it almost as a tablet and a phone. And people who like just a more cost-efficient, smaller iPhone, right? You got a more diverse range of options. All right, here's a question. How can each category of this PESTLE, we call it, right? PESTLE is political, economic, social, technological, legal, environmental. Well, we'll even do a PESTLE analysis in this course. But here's the question. How can each category of the PESTLE factors impact marketing to the final consumer? So I'll give you a few minutes to talk about this within your groups that you are in. I'll give you about 4 minutes. I want you to come up with a list of how each one of these can affect marketing to the final consumer. Right? How can it affect marketing to the final consumer? I'll leave that up there for you right now. All right, I'll give you a few minutes to discuss with your group. So get in and throw us some ideas.